Welcome to the Sober Unicorn. We are a gay-hosted, all-inclusive podcast about sobriety and addiction recovery for the LGBT plus community and all of our allies. I am your host, Holden, and thank you for joining us today. Hey everybody, it's Holden again here with the Sober Unicorn. I hope everybody's having a fabulous day. Today I'm being joined by Jeffary. Him and I actually met through Instagram on the Sober Unicorn podcast page, and he reached out to me wanting to come on here and kind of just share his experience, strength, and hope, and his journey of recovery. So hello, Jeffary.
Hey, Holden.
How are you doing today?
Very well, very well.
Good, good. So why don't you kind of give everybody um, who you are, where you're from, and like what your drug of choice was?
Um, born in, usually joke like this, born and inbred with Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. Born there, and now currently living in Peterborough, Ontario, which is probably about 2 hours northeast of Toronto in Canada. Went into recovery at the age of 41 due to a suicide attempt. Drug of choice, well, let's say more. I went in for drugs, alcohol, sex addiction, and post-traumatic stress when I went into treatment. And it was anything and everything that would just numb me. Alcohol was more socially acceptable. My addiction with pain medication and prescription drugs was a little less sociable, but easier to access, if I can say that. And then sex, well, hey, I'm a gay male. I thought we were conditioned to be like that.
100%. I think, as I've said in previous episodes, I feel that a lot of people tend to be cross addicted. Especially, I see it kind of a little bit more prominent within the gay community, especially with like methamphetamine and cocaine being cross addicted with alcoholism. So, why don't you give kind of everybody a backstory on like where you were before recovery, what led you into the rooms of recovery, and kind of how the beginnings of your journey went?
Well, born in a family where there was addiction in its many forms, right from a very young age. Grandparents and parents could probably identify with some form of addiction. My mother did get 15 years of sobriety before she passed away. Yeah, so saw it around me and I knew it existed, but for me, I was like, oh, I'm better than this. But just my father died at a very, well, not a young age. He was 57, but I was 22, 23 when he died, and it was in the time frame of when I came out to the family. And so that was like a big shit storm for me to ramp up my addictions. And then when my mother died in 2006, she was 65, died of cancer, was able to get 15 years of sobriety in, and but that was another springboard to jump off for me to go hell into to numb myself till I fell in December of 2010. Well, December of 2010 is when I went into treatment, but probably sometime August, September, it's a little blurry because I overdosed and was hospitalized and went into psychiatric care. And it was a actual psychiatric nurse that would take me out on walking passes for cigarette breaks that she all of a sudden started 12-stepping me, and all of a sudden it was like the penny dropped then and there. And I was like, oh. And then met with the psychiatric social worker to find out about going to treatment to deal with it, and then realizing like not every treatment center was going to deal with everything because I was multi-addicted and pretty messed up. Yeah, so that was I was 41, was married, and what I thought was a successful career, but no, it was just an opportunity to use and abuse people, places, and things, and deal with life on life's terms with not a proper set of skills. So yeah, went to treatment, dealt with the core issues, and also knew that I had to deal with some other stuff. And didn't have a higher power belief for the longest time. And it was a gentleman who was in the treatment center that who is still a part of my life today. Just the way he talked to me, he just had that little sparkle in his eye or something. And I guess we call it God shots or whatever. But when I was walking back to my room, after what he was doing a suicide check to see if I had an active plan in place. walking back in the treatment center, all of a sudden it was like this little light moment. Like that guy's being a nice guy for a reason. He's not being a nice guy because he's being paid. This is sincere. And he said, but he said, I'd love for you to join me at a meeting, and he said, I'd love for you to meet, be a part of a fellowship. And I was just like, it was being grown up gay, always having that defense mechanism, always having that, making sure you knew where you could land softly and accept it. And I was always very, like, always had that mask on. This guy just, I just crumbled everything I thought about it. And that was like in a 2-second moment. It wasn't like I sat and thought about it. And so that was the crack. And Leonard Cohen had said, "There's crack in everything. That's how the light gets in," and that's where it started. I think started going to 3 different fellowships when I got out of treatment, and that was too much because you're reading 3 different textbooks and you're getting the same message, but you're getting it all convoluted in different ways. I thought, and I thought I better break it down and go right to the main source, right to the tap root. So that's how I ended up in the fellowship I'm in now, which is the granddaddy of them all. Bill and Bob started it. And also, too, you know that Bill and Bob had issues with other substances and stuff, such as alcohol, beyond alcohol, which was drugs and sex and stuff. So, yeah, that's how I got here and started my journey.
So have you and the gentleman that was doing the suicide watch, are y'all still in contact to this day?
Yep. The gentleman actually spoke at my 1-year medallion, my 5-year medallion, and my 10-year medallion.
And that's, I think, something that's super like magical about the fellowship is that many of these people that knew you at the very beginning, especially if they don't go out, like they stick with you the entire
Mm-hmm.
time and they're there for you anytime you need it. Like I recently went to an event in Dallas and it's like I just reached out to one of the fellows. I hadn't talked to him since the event. It's been a few months and he was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for reaching out to me. You don't realize how much this means to me." And it goes to show, like, even though you don't think that that stream of contact will make any type of impact, it truly does.
No, it does. Well, that gentleman is now like I see on a regular basis. And he introduced me to my first sponsor. My first sponsor, who was also gay, um, he got really busy with commitments and work related stuff, and he, in turn, introduced me to someone else who was in the same fellowship as I was, and he ended up being my sponsor. And it's the sponsor I've had to this day. So all these people have had these little connections, and it's true. It's yeah, I had on my 5-year medallion put every thread of tapestry because it was like every person I was meeting, it was like I was pulling a little thread from everybody, and then all of a sudden I realized I got like this shitload of threads.
Yeah, and it's like no matter where in the world we are, we're kind of like
Mm-hmm.
all intertwined. Because I mean, you're from Canada. You're the second Canadian I've actually had on the show. I've and like I've had people from UK, South Africa, and it's like no matter where we are in the world, we find this like common ground and common understanding of what each and every person in the program is going through. So I get reached out to here and there from anybody, and it's like no matter where they are within their recovery journey or where they are in the world, like I'm able to have a conversation with them and fully understand kind of what they're going through and the struggles.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like Zoom, some people around where I am, I'm kind of in a, it's a city, but it's a very rural environment. Um, but Zoom just opened up my mind and my heart and everything, and I've now got connections around the world. Like I've got friends at Palm Springs, and never in a million years would I get a text saying, "Hey, just get a plane ticket and come down for a couple days and stay with us." And New York and London, like it's just been amazing. Gone to meetings around the world and saw how even recovery is evolved differently, and it's been a godsend. And that was one of the things too. Like I was yeah, I was coming up on 10 years of sobriety, and I was kind of like, oh, well, this will all blow over by the time I get to have my medallion, and I'll get to have my medallion with all those people in the room. And it's like, no, my medallion ended up being on Zoom, but I got people to take part from around the world. And COVID and all that was like out the window. That was nothing I made or did. So it was a real moment of higher power. It was like, okay, you can do what you can do to deal with it. like my alcoholism, my drug addiction and sex addiction, like I have tools to do stuff, and that's what I learned and I applied it in the principles. So yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to know too that like the medallion is for you, because you're the one that, of course, succeeded in obtaining that. I know when I hit my first 30 days, that to me, I was like, oh my God, I don't know how the hell I was able to
Mm-hmm.
obtain 30 days. And my sponsor was not there. And I like anticipated this whole like glorious thing of me walking in and like everybody patting on the back, and that's not what happened. And
Not at
like
all.
I drove myself to the bar that night. I didn't drink, thankfully, but it made me kind of realize that my higher power took him away from me in that evening. So I would know that I'm doing this journey for myself. I don't do this for my sponsor. I don't do this for my mom. I do this for me.
I believe like to be so grandiose to like it's all about me. Well, that's I think kind of learned behaviors. No, I think my medallion, and it's really important. I'm telling anybody and everybody, like whether you have 30 years or whether you have 2 days, it's like this is a celebration. This shit works, and it is. And if you would have told me half an hour before I went in to, I would have been like, now I honestly in treatment thought they're going to give me a script so I can take a pill, so I can go back doing the things I could do. I didn't know it's not about just quitting the drinking. It's about living life on life's terms and just handling situations so differently. It's the rule book that I should have got in kindergarten and I didn't seem to get.
Exactly. And of course, you said life's on life's terms. And I know that in the program we have many, many of sayings and slogans. So we'll talk negatively just for a quick second. What slogans do you not enjoy within the program?
Well, when I first came in, and hilariously, I was like, seriously, it's religion by bumper stickers. And then here in my area, what they do is that part of the meeting is it's not just the slogans are on the wall and you interpret it as you feel. Somebody comes up, and sometimes people can take like a good 15, 20 minutes and talk about what their interpretation of the slogans are. And it's the same six slogans. And I'm like, well, that, yeah. Um, and then some people don't even talk about their recovery, or they're so dry. But so when I do the slogans, or I'll say up front, like there's slogans that I have with my sponsor that are just between the two of us, and there's certain slogans that don't mean anything to anybody. But um, yeah, there's some that are just so silly and stupid. When you hear somebody talk about, they'll say. But then I've also heard people that are mentally delayed, challenges, and that they'll come up and do the slogans, and God love them because they've made it so simple and so easy, and it's lovely to see that they'll say something like keep an open mind because you got to keep your mind open to learn, and it's really simple. But then you get somebody up there that's like never done the steps, and they'll be like, oh, back in the good old days when I used to buy booze for, and I'm like, you're not helping. I know that's really judgmental, and my sponsor calls me on that all the time. He calls me Judge Jeffrey, and he also has a slogan that I use on my 10-year medallion, and it's find something to smile about. And every email I've ever had from him, and it's the two of us should have never been put together. But he is the greatest gift I've ever gotten in sobriety, because he has helped so much, and he calls me on my shit still to this day. And people hearing us talk to each other, it's like this bizarre kind of conversation because okay, and then I go carry on.
I think it's crazy how some of the people that we absolutely hate, not hate, I wouldn't use that term, but some of the people that we would look at and never think about talking to or being
Mm-hmm.
friends with are some of the people that we learn from the absolute most.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a gentleman in my local home group, that I just was done. I mentally exhausted over him. But then after a while, I learned from his shares that like he struggles with more mental health issues and stuff like that. And so I had to take into account, not only is he sick from the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction, but he's also mentally ill with a conglomerate of diagnoses. And so it had to take me out of myself in order
Mm-hmm.
to say, you know what, I have to take him for who he is.
Mm-hmm.
because he's just like the rest of us, trying to better himself and move forward and live a life worth living. Um, one of the ones that I have changed is one day at a time. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
loves that term, but I all I normally say is just for today.
Mm-hmm.
It works for me a little bit better than ODAT, and it's like I wake up and it's like, okay, God, just for today, keep me sober, and that helps me a little bit easier because I mean I could tackle on 24 hours. I can't think about 10 years from now. Um,
No.
the one that kind of everybody's indifferent about, especially when people say it in a sarcastic manner within the meetings, especially when you get to know people, is keep coming back.
Mm.
And I know I will say that towards people that hate that term. And so, what does that term mean to you?
Oh my goodness. Keep coming back to me is so much more than it actually is. I find it funny when you hear people say you read the black, you don't read in between the lines, but then they'll say keep coming back, and back stands for because alcohol can kill. And I'm like, no, don't see the little dots, don't see the little anagram. It just means keep coming back. Um, and that's where I'm like, kind of with some people, it's like, you know what, putting too much into something that isn't there. But keep coming back to me is an amazing slogan because you know what? Keep coming back to the rooms, keep coming back to the literature, keep coming back to your sponsor, keep coming back to the program, keep coming back to the still suffering alcoholic, keep coming back to the reason you're in the room. Because I'm not all there, so I can't be all that. It's such a, it is one of those slogans and it's one of those phrases like keep coming back to the literature. Just, and like there should be like a little Dolly Parton standing out in front of every meeting waving, oh, keep coming back. Like, I've said to people, know when your next meeting is when you're leaving. Don't say, oh, I don't know. No, make a commitment that this is when I'm going to come back to the program. This is when I'm going to come back to the literature. Some of the things I do in the morning, like I keep coming back to the same things because they haven't stopped working for me. My morning, how I set up my morning and stuff, and do those readings and stuff. Like I keep coming back. And yeah, and I have to keep coming back to the program because I've learned by this others. If you don't come back, like I don't think I could handle a relapse. I don't think that's in my cards. I think I definitely know that I probably wouldn't last very long either. It's
I think
definitely worth price.
you're listening to the Sober Unicorn. We'll be right back after this short break. This episode is brought to you by Von Shine Creatives at handmadeandgreat.com. Von Shine Creatives is a sober owned business featuring finely crafted goat's milk and vegan soaps. Treat yourself or someone you love today. Take $5 off of $25 on all your purchases site wide, and remember, it's always free shipping. Use the coupon code SOBER, which helps support Von Shine Creatives and the Sober Unicorn podcast all at once. Link and coupon code will be in the bio. Now back to our episode. That's a good way to look at things, especially like as you say, keep coming back to multiple things, not just the meetings themselves, but the literature, the prayer, because we find things that work for us in the program, and it's like keep coming back to those things that continue to keep working. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think, of course, as I've gotten to know people in the rooms, like the meeting I used to go to is at 10 p.m. It's a very small group, and so we would say it in a catty way. And I mean, when I first came into recovery, I looked at that slogan as like you're effed up. Keep coming back, more in a negative term. But now it's like I look at it a lot more positively. It's like keep coming back because we want to see you succeed.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see you get sober. It's not a bad thing. It's not saying that that person's messed up. I mean, we're all messed up, but I mean, we're it's just continue to come back, continue to work on the program, continue to work the steps, and you will succeed. And as long as you take the action, and I think that's where a lot of people fall short is taking action within the program.
Mm-hmm.
um that has been my struggle, many of times, is like the prayer. My my schedule's insane, and so I tend to kind of fall short on that, so I need to keep
Oh
coming back to the action.
no, I think like I'm still amazed, like dumbfounded, like now that I've been in for a while, it's not the growth I've had, it's the growth that I see. And I do see people and I see where they were when they first came in to where they are now. And I'm just like, wow, that's mind boggling. And then I've seen people when you can tell that they're hitting, I don't know, it's an intuitive gift. I know the whole thing about like having that women's intuition or that gut feeling or that we turned it off when we were at the height of our abuse. Um, but now I'm so in tune to it. Now I know that it's really weird. I'll be like in a meeting and I'll just go out and I'll say something to somebody and they'll be like, "Oh my god, I was wanting to talk to you," or "I've been struggling with something." And I think, and I call them God shots too. And yeah, but the God of my understanding that I keep coming back to is not white man with fabulous Prada gown and Prada shoes waving at us like that. God is so far removed from what I believe in now, and but I'm so thankful that the repetitiveness of all the readings and stuff at meetings, because at first I'm like, we don't need to hear this again. We don't need to hear that. We don't. No, we do. We so do, and I still kind of struggle with the fact that I still can't believe I'm like I am now, and like the literature alone, like just I don't know how many there was. I swear a small divot in between my eyebrows where my sponsor with his finger was going 417, 417, 417, 417, and now I just even have to hear that number and I know the whole passage. And then I say to other people now, when new people get, I see new people in the program, it's kind of a little tagline with me. I said, read the first three words on page 112. And so they all scramble to look, and then all of a sudden, all it says is read this book. That's all it says. It's not talking about the chapter to the wives or anything. It just says read this book. And most of them have this little smile on their face. It's like they've been frustrated for the last hour because they don't see anything or get anything. But it's like, just keep coming back to that little phrase read the book, pick it open. Yeah, read it.
So what is you said 417.
That's
So
the that's the paragraph on acceptance.
oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah, and
Acceptance is key.
acceptance is key. And you know what? And somebody the other day said about they're only in control what's inside their hula hoop. And I'm like, oh, does that ever make so if you're outside my hula hoop, like, yeah, guess what? Not my problem. And this is another great slogan. Not my problem was not my farm, not my pig, not my shit. And somebody's like, oh, that's swearing. And I said, no, I didn't mean it to be rude. I meant it just like if you have to have a graphic image, like the other one too, that you don't feed me, you don't finance me, you don't fuck me, so fuck off. And I'm sorry to the listeners that are like, oh, language of the heart, but it gets the point across really quickly. And to a newcomer, if they're grasping for something they don't understand, bang. And I think that's really important because going through the last 2 years of recovery with Zoom and some people not wanting to go on Zoom or going to in person meetings or picking up the phone, we had to look at different ways of, oh, God, did I ever, the slogan about change we must, nothing changes if nothing changes. Like here I'm spewing out slogans and I know people will be like, you hate the slogans. Well, no, I hate slogans when somebody says something stupid about the slogans. Yeah. When they
Uh,
say keep an open mind and they're like, I've been here 40 years and my habitual life at 30 years married. What, did you change? No. This is the whole thing.
I think it's so
Change.
important that I I don't really I mean I don't think we change entirely because I think that our who we are is kind of ingrained within us. I think we evolve in our journey. But I mean, which is I guess change.
Yeah, it is. It
To
is. It
me,
is.
change is like a 180 of who you are. But I think we evolve as humans and evolve in our recovery, just like in our addiction, we evolved from smoking or drinking one time and 4 beers into finishing the entire bottle in our bedroom
Mm-hmm.
alone.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, like as you said, nothing changes if nothing changes. Like if you don't evolve, your life is not going to
Mm-hmm.
differ any means. If you keep being an asshole to people, if you keep hating people for stuff that you like, as you said, you can't control within your hula hoop, then your life is gonna be miserable as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Bubble Boy.
Yes.
But that's what I think of. It's like the only thing I have any type of remote control over is going to be in that small bubble that
Mm.
surrounds me. Anything around that in society and religion, politics, anything, I cannot fully control it at this time.
Mm.
We can work on changing things, but we cannot change it right now. Um, and so it's so important to understand and accept that fact. And
Well, yeah, a great deal of things for me now is like, and it again, accept where people are at and like smile and nod and stuff. And but also too, there's been behaviors from some people and like I can't tolerate your behavior anymore, and I'm not going to tolerate. I want to accept, but if your behavior is so bad that I have to make a an issue of like I'm not going to address you or speak to you, it's for my own personal safety. And it's like if somebody keeps on doing stuff and then they repeat it and then they repeat it and then they repeat it and they repeat it, and they don't change their behaviors. I owe them the favor to say I'm putting up this very healthy boundary and saying no, you're not. You don't get to go past this boundary. That's important to me. I don't do it a lot. I'm going to be honest. There's varying degrees of doing it, but for the most part, I have a few healthy boundaries that I have to respect. And it's not that I'm going back to old behaviors. I'm going forward to the fact that I have changed and this is what I will not tolerate or not accept. But also too, the whole thing about like being in a bar or being around people. Toronto had their Pride celebration, and it was the first time I've been to Pride in probably about 5 years. And I know for my first 5 years of recovery, there was no way I was going around to anybody that was drinking at all. I just couldn't. But you know what? All weekend I was there and I was clear and present and enjoying my cold water. But watching people drink and stuff doesn't bother me anymore. The obsession left. Um, I will say, because in Canada, the big blunts and stuff, I could smell it. And for half a second, I was kind of like, "Eh." But I can't do that anymore. I lost the privilege, but I did gain the acceptance to understand there's so many other ways to deal with life on life's terms.
exactly. And I think rewinding a little bit with the term boundaries, I think boundaries are so important to put in place. And I think that in our addiction, the boundary line got 100% blurred.
Mm.
And so as we evolve in our recovery, it's like people are like, damn, you're putting up so many boundaries. You're like, no, these boundaries have been in my life, but we're blurred in our in addiction. And it's like my friends. I mean, I go to the bar not often, but I would say at least maybe like twice a month. But I have a boundary for myself is the fact of the bars that I go to, the friends that are there know that I don't drink. The bartenders there know that I don't drink. So the moment I walk in, they're like, oh, okay, you need your Coke Holden. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like if I try to drink there, they're like, no, 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 no. So I have to put boundaries for myself as long as with other people. I tried to date recently and I had to put a boundary of I don't mind that you drink, but I ask that you don't get drunk.
Mm.
Especially when we're in the first like 2 weeks of us trying to
Mm.
date. I
What's
don't
a
think that
date?
well, it ended pretty abruptly because he had issues with the fact that I don't drink.
Oh, I can't get over going on apps, and as soon as you say that you're sober, they're like, ew. And I'm like, really? But then I accept that. Like, my ex husband was drinking after, not that he was a social drinker and one of the normies, but it wasn't stopping him. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. And I have friends that socially drink and socially do like edibles and stuff, and like that doesn't bother me. Their
Well,
state falters a little bit, but you know what? I kind of find fun in it because I'm glad that they can enjoy themselves. I'm enjoying myself.
I think it's like you get on the apps and they're like, oh well, let's grab a drink together, and I normally off the bat I'll just say, oh well, I don't drink, and then they're like immediately it's either the conversation just ends and I
Mm.
don't get message back, or they're like, well, why not? Or what else are we supposed to do? And I'm just like, what
Oh,
is
there's so much more. There's so much more.
I've done more stuff in the past 8 months of my recovery than I have like in my 30 years of life. Like I've been to way more concerts, more fun events with friends, more pride events. Like it's insane on the amount of stuff that you're able to do and accomplish and experience in life when you're not keep coming back essentially to the
Hmm.
bar
Hmm. Hmm.
or to the
And
bottle.
no, I was a DJ and as a part-time hobby, and I hated it when I was drinking because I get sloshed and I get sloppy, and then all of a sudden that affects my performance. But I've DJed events now, and I absolutely love it. And music, one of the things when I got sober was I made a conscious effort. Like, why do I like the things I do? Why do I not like the things I don't like? So I was consciously making an effort because I found a lot of comfort and a lot of happiness. Well, with awareness, I guess is awareness the best word in music and in film and stuff and literature. And I just all those groups and stuff that I hated as a kid, all of a sudden I was like, wow, why did I hate this? It's so good. And then all of a sudden, some songs and some music, I was like, ugh. I only liked it because it was, yeah, it was crap. But
Yeah,
that's a joy. And going to a bar like a Pride weekend, I was 4 hours on the dance floor with friends, and because I love her dearly and she's part of my recovery. So all of a sudden, when I realized the DJ was playing Kate Bush, and I've never danced to Kate Bush on a dance floor, and I was Nirvana. It was a beautiful experience, and that was an elevated high. Was I drunk? No. Was I stoned? No. Was I? No. I appreciated and got out of the art, the music.
I have recently found a ton of music about people's journeys, like
Mm-hmm.
about their sobriety, and it's one of my favorite. There's two songs that I absolutely love. If anybody hasn't heard it, it's "Starting Over" by I believe it's called by Macklemore, and then "The More I Drink" by
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, I can't remember the country artist, but it's just about how he goes into a bar and the guy doesn't drink and he's just kind of like looking at himself and he's like, the more I drink, the more I drink. it's it's insane on how no matter how often I told myself, oh, I'm only gonna have like 2 or 3 beers, go home early, go to bed. Next thing you know, it's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm $175 bar tab later, crawling out.
At the beginning, music saved me. I think in certain ways. But I have a recovery playlist that I have, and "Dog Days Are Over" by Florence and the Machine. Totally, My Way. There's Aretha Franklin did a version of it, and it's like it takes me to church. It's higher power moment. It's if God can make that woman hit those notes, like yeah, I'm lucky. And then Sinead O'Connor does "Make Me a Channel of Your Peace," which is the 11-step prayer, prayer for species. And when she sings and and it's just like yeah, that's God presence, and they're great to meditate to. They're they're great to lock out and be able to meditate to something like that. The human voice is capable of beautiful things.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy on how many singers and celebrities we don't realize
Mm-hmm.
that are sober in their music, because sobriety is a huge part, especially if you're in recovery, it's a huge part of your life and your
Mm-hmm.
success in life. And it's them kind of paying homage to what gave them, not gave them their career per se, but allowed them to continue that career and
Mm-hmm.
was blessed with the vocals that they have and everything. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about music all day because
Mm-hmm.
I love me some music. My favorite artist right now is Lizzo, which isn't the
Yes.
best for recovery because she be drinking Patron on the stage.
No, but also too, Lizzo is to me, as a 53-year-old gay man. Thank God, I'm finally seeing images that are real, and she is a real woman. And I
Hmm.
love her. I love her energy. And I would love to see her in concert. I think she'd do a fabulous concert. Another
She's
one,
touring, but she's
yeah,
so expensive.
yes. Another one is well, growing up as a kid, the only person who wore glasses was Elton John. So for me, I've always been. And one of his songs he wrote very early. Well, it's not even recovery related, but Elton song. Google the video, Elton song by him, and he wrote it with Tom Robinson, another gay man, well, bisexual man. It still today just roots me in what is important in this world. It's about being true to yourself and that authentic. And I don't want to sound morose or anything, but I like to think that that little 7-year-old inside me or that little 13-year-old made it. All the abuse and crap and stuff, and a survivor of sexual abuse, like I'm glad I made it, and I'm glad I got to see what life is like without dipping or using.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you get to see what life is now as well without using. I mean, even though there's a lot of turmoil in the world at the moment, there's still so much beauty in the world as well to be seen and to experience in life. So, before we pull the episode into a close, is there anything that you haven't said to everybody listening that you would like to say?
Um, I don't want to sound like an advocate for doing this or anything. Like, there are people who can drink, there are people who can do drugs, there are people who can have sexual relationships that are unhealthy and be able to recover from it. I can't. But I'm at a place now in recovery, and God bless that I've done the work. My first sponsor was a mortician, and my second sponsor was a warden out of prison. So if I wasn't locked up or covered up, I had to sober up. And I don't even think I'm my age anymore. I still think I'm like in this magical high school that I'm finally getting to be one of the popular kids. I just recently became district committee member in one of my 12-step fellowships for my district, and the anagram stands for district coffee maker. Like, I just love being of service and to give this message to someone else. And if somebody hears this and goes, "No," my first year I was angry. I melted chairs when I came to rooms because I was on fire, and I was hostile to everything. And I finally did and do the steps. The steps are laid out for a reason. Do them and do them well. And I'll be doing them for the rest of my life. Like, I'll still be in my casket tapping on the door going, "No, I still want to do more on my fifth." There's been too many rewards and too many God shots and too many things have happened that have made me realize, like, keep coming back to podcasts, keep coming back to anything that will help you deal with life on life's terms. And if you're one day, congratulations. If you're here 50 years, congratulations. And there's more will be. And the gentleman a dear friend who passed away recently with cancer, he was only diagnosed for a few weeks and passed, but he had two phrases that just are so great slogans. But it was more will be revealed, which is so true, and let gratitude be your attitude. And I can't for 1 second not say I'm grateful, full of gratitude. Here, somebody who didn't like the slogans, and here I'm Mr. Slogan speaker.
The slogans are there for a reason. I mean, no matter
Yeah.
how much we may dislike, love, or feel indifferent about, like, at some point in our life, we're gonna be like, "Oh shit, that's why that slogan's there."
Yeah, Frank calls me a great sloganeer, and I'm like, don't say that. I'm just I'm one of the bozos on the bus, and I'm glad I'm on the bus.
Yes, I'm on the. I may be on the short bus, but at least I'm on the bus still.
No, it's a very well organized bus, and God's driving.
Yes,
Or
because
whatever your vision, or our own vision of what God is.
because we know that the alcoholics are just so organized.
Oh, those days are done. Those days are done. I love that. I love when I have to do a little checklist, and I'm also like the last one has to be ground yourself.
Yes.
No more grandiose.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you coming on so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again for listening to today's episode. Hit that follow button to be notified about new episodes every week. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram at The Sober Unicorn Podcast or on our website at thesoberunicornpodcast.com. There you will find our episodes as well as our very own sober-owned shop featuring products from small businesses that are sober-owned. And remember, everyone, don't be normal, be a unicorn, but better yet, be a sober unicorn.